that's 1 year, and that's a lowly intern, that's my stories. I'm going to kick it over to the guys that came year to year. They got a lot more experience than 1 year combined. They would have played, got to be 30 years in the NHL. So I'm going to start it off by introducing the Tales from the Penalty Box regular. Those of you who were here in February have already heard some of the stories. He's got a lot more to tell tonight. So I'm going to start it off with the guy who became a household name here in Buffalo, playing with the Sabres in the mid to late 90s under Teddy Nolan. He moved on to Pittsburgh and Tampa, and was a fan favorite with the Rangers. Quick stops with Colorado and Chicago, and he wrapped it up with Dallas. Welcome back to Riverworks, Matthew Barnaby. Next up, making his Tales from the Penalty Box debut. We've done about, including the February show here, we've probably done about 12 in Canada. But Brad May hasn't been a part of them. We want him to be, and he's wanted to be. The challenge was, because of his broadcasting throughout last season with the Vegas Golden Knights, he wasn't available during the regular season. So it was an opportune time to have him here in July. But he was, of course, the first round pick of the Sabres 1990, played here for over 6 years, and had stops with the Canucks, Avalanche, Coyotes in there, won the Stanley Cup with Anaheim in 2007, spent some time with his hometown Toronto Maple Leafs, and wrapped it up with the Detroit Red Wings. Welcome to Riverworks for his Tales from the Penalty Box debut, Brad May.
Nice guy, not that great.
So guys, ready to have some fun? What were you up to today? I know you spent the day together.
Yeah, I played a little golf. My son was with us today and had a couple cocktails. Had a great night last night. Buffalo's fucked up, by the way. You guys picked more than any other city in the world. Why cars close at 4 o'clock in the morning? We get home by midnight.
Be honest, maybe how many cocktails Barney had today?
No, we didn't drink too much this afternoon or this morning. Matthew was a little hungover. I had to hold his hand last night, along with Rhonda. He went from 100 miles an hour and looking really good and fine, and he literally collapsed about midnight. And I tell you, it happened within 10 minutes.
Great today, bro. Awesome.
So the bulk of questions I'm going to ask you guys this evening are going to center on your own careers, mostly to do with your time in Buffalo, but also in your other stops. Start things off with the current Sabres, talking about the off-season, a lot of change, a lot of new players coming in. I'm going to start with you, Brad. What do you think? Bringing in guys like Jimmy BC, and they got a few trades, Skinner signed long-term. What do you think? What's the projection? Think the Sabres going to make the playoffs next season?
They're certainly going to be knocking on the door. And by the way, all of you Sabres fans, I think you have something to look forward to. Now, you've been sold a bill of goods for the last 10 years. Obviously, they haven't played as well as everybody's wanted. Multiple coaches, different philosophies, general managers. The Pagulas have put together a great program. However, there has to be continuity within an organization, and you have to know where the direction's coming from and who is the leader. And there's been a little bit of confusion there, I believe. Jason Botwell, he was in training camp with us early 90s or mid 90s. He's done a nice job this summer, in my estimation. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you guys know who Colin Miller is. Of course, you know the name. Being traded from Vegas. I've been in Vegas the last 2 years. I think you guys are going to love this guy. I love him. He's a wonderful guy. He's from Sault Ste. Marie. He's an Ontario Hockey League guy, but he's a heck of a player. He's a lot better than any of you ever will anticipate. I promise you that. along with Montour last year. But I'll tell you what, I'm having a struggle with this idea of trading Rasmus Ristolainen. I think if it happens, unless they get an unbelievable quality forward or a package of players, I'm not sure what the market is. I'm not in that part of the business. But Rasmus Ristolainen, if you're going to win a championship, or certainly knock on the door to win a championship, Rasmus Ristolainen absolutely is going to be your friend. He's going to help you. I'm not so sure you want to get rid of him. And everybody's talking about his salary and his contract. I know it's a lot of money, guys, but it's so cap friendly. I think it would be an absolute mistake unless they get a top 6 great player for the next 10 years that's going to be a producer for the Buffalo Sabres. If you don't get that, and I don't think you're going to get that, Tampa's done a heck of a job. They're talking about him going to Tampa. If he goes to Tampa, I know they're the best team in the league last year. Absolutely, Rasmus Ristolainen will hoist the Stanley Cup. And everyone in Buffalo, like your thought with Ryan O'Reilly, Rasmus Ristolainen is going to be your next champion that's not here in this city. So I actually really, I think Jason Barnow's doing a very good job.
Speaking of Ryan O'Reilly, I'm just going to stay on that theme for a second. I go back to you, Matt. So you can feel free to jump in on some of the off-season decisions of the Sabres, but when you look at, considering we're talking about toughness tonight and tales from the penalty box, I think Zach Bogosian led the team in penalty minutes this year, and it would have been probably, the stats in front of me, but just shy of 100. You look back to the era you guys played and how toughness was such a key component, but you also look at how Ryan O'Reilly's St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup, and physical presence more dominant than any recent memory of the Stanley Cup. Do you like the Sabres off-season moves, and are they tough enough to challenge next year?
Let me go back to Brad May when he won a Stanley Cup in Anaheim. Sorry, lost for that, by the way.
What
Stanley Cup champion.
My girlfriend,
and not the fucking Stanley Cup champion. So
not my wife.
I just thought I'd give it to him.
Not my wife. I just looked out in the crowd. I'm not going to look there again. Not my girlfriend. It's not my girlfriend, guys. It's not.
Are you looking at my girlfriend?
No. I just saw my old girlfriend who's been with me, and honestly has been a big part of my time in the National Hockey League from inception. Hi, Brenda. So nice to see you. There she is. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that, but I just looked up and saw Brenda. Brenda Hempersley has traveled to Vancouver and has traveled to Phoenix, and her and her girlfriend's awesome. I love you. And one thing being a hockey player or an athlete, the city has 2 teams, Bills and Sabres. It is so cool to have, obviously you got your own inner circle and people that literally are going to tell you things and always keep you upbeat, but it's so cool when you meet people, when you play in these different cities. For me and you here in Buffalo, you're such a big part of it. I think of you often. Thank you.
Buffalo's one of the coolest spots, by the way. Yeah, cheers to that. Buffalo's a cool spot. I'm sure you guys all see in the media. I'm on Twitter daily, like hours and hours.
Minutely, not daily.
Minutely, yes. I don't know if that's a word, but we'll go with it. Buffalo's the only spot where the team can get knocked out of the playoffs and our top 2 or 3 in NBC ratings for Stanley Cup watching. Huge fans. Huge hockey fans. Going back to your question, and Buffalo is on the upper. I don't know if they make the playoffs this year. I can't unequivocally, so I'm not sure, Brad. Sorry. Say that they're going to make the playoffs. They will be there. They aren't going to be as good as the 10-game winning streak that they had. They won't be in first place like they were at one point during the year, but they won't be as bad as they were in the second half. The off seasons, whether you look at Montour last year, VC this year, top 9 forward. I love the move that they made for Yogi Hara. We gave up Alex Nylander, who's a very good player. He's promise, but he hasn't shown anything yet.
Matthew, I just
I promise.
Matthew, sorry, I do this. We'll tell you about our fights on the bus and airplanes and everything else in a minute or two, but Nylander, first round. I'm just being honest, it was a bad pick. You got to go deep in the lineage. You have to understand where a player's from, what motivates the player. Now, he's going to go to Chicago and he's going to become a good player. He's going to play with better players, and he's going to be given a chance. But you know what? He was a bust here at Buffalo, 100%. So you said he's a good player. He's an incredibly skilled player. But guess what? You have to have a mind and you have to have a work ethic to actually match that.
He has the mind.
And he has the skill.
He has the mind.
His work ethic sucks.
It is.
So he's not a good player. We can't give him that. We can't give him that.
He's a player. Yorkie Harper, who they got, is a very good player. I've watched him for years and years. He's very good. Buffalo's on the upper. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but they're on the seventh.
You're talking about work ethic, Brad. When you break into the league, totally different dynamic, close to 30 years ago. And you're a first rounder, as I said earlier, in 1990, but by the time, you've never played in the minors, correct? You went right from NHL.
Silver spoon. Fun guy, you played in the minors.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Not to start your
So listen, I did not play in the minors. Thank God. I didn't want to play in the minors. I had a goal, and I was fortunate to be drafted by the right team that needed to address a playing style that I could provide. Every guy that I know, by the way, at any given time in the American Hockey League, I know maybe some people are here from Rochester. There's over 200. I'm not sure, every year it changes in the timing and who's called up. Over 200 first and second round draft picks in the American Hockey League at all times. It is a hell of a league. Arguably, it's a harder league to be a good player in, because when you actually make a good play, in the NHL, when you make a good play, the play you're supposed to make, and you beat a player, you have a scoring chance, because everybody else is in position. In the American Hockey League, there's a lot of kids, players, that the reason why they're not in the NHL is they're out of position at different times, and it's more difficult for good players. So you get a guy that's got 20 points in the American Hockey League, you'll be like, why in the world would the Buffalo Sabres call this guy up? And it's going to happen. He's going to get to Buffalo, and all of a sudden he lights it on fire, and he becomes a hell of a player. It's a different game, but I didn't play in the minors. I played 15 or 16 games. My last 15 or 16 games professionally, my last year, 19 years into my career, at the end, I retired. Ken Holland from the Detroit Red Wings, he put me on waivers at the Olympic break, Vancouver Olympics. I went away for a couple weeks. I went home to Toronto, my family was there. My son was playing in the playoffs. I'm like, listen, I'm done. I didn't leave home to go play in the American Hockey League. I had the ability, and I was lucky enough to be able to say that. Ken Holland talked me into going. It was maybe my favorite 5 weeks or 6 weeks of my career playing in the American Hockey League. At the end, I played with Thomas Tatar and Justin Applicator. These guys are obviously NHL stalwarts now, but I was like their dad. All they wanted to do was hear stories. They had this insatiable appetite to get better. They asked questions, and all of a sudden, you've been a part of this group. Maybe losing confidence because you're a fourth line player being sat out later in your career. You don't play every night. You didn't have the same cachet as you once did. All of a sudden, you go down to the American Hockey League at the end, and these players, these young guys, are looking at you like, oh my God, I want to have what you have. Help me. And it was one of the coolest experiences ever. I wish, in hindsight, I played with the Rochester Americans for a half a season and had that experience early. Not saying I would have, or not saying I took things for granted, but I honestly think if you started there, like you did, Matthew, and most players, 95% of players do, there's a real appreciation to the next level. And I didn't get that cool, but after getting there, I actually wish I had the opportunity, because you guys had some of the funnest and best times of your hockey career in Rochester.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I don't even know.
What's the best time of the experience?
Yeah, I said Panelist. I don't know what Panelist is.
Did I say that? That's not a word.
I want to hear this story. So
Most fun.
I want you did not have the luxury of going right to the show the way Brad did. You did spend some time in the minors, and I want you to give us your best Rochester story of breaking in. But I will say, you're talking about Justin Alligator and Thomas Atara being a father figure. I say this respect knowing you, Matt. I know you have your son here tonight, but I hope you weren't a father figure to any of your teammates.
I hope not.
Well, let's go with your best minor league story.
I think my son's at the bar. My best minor league story actually will play off what Brad said, because my last game in the minors, we played in Rochester, and I love Rochester. I played 92 games in Rochester. I had 91 points. Pretty bad.
Remember I said it's a shitty league too, guys out of position?
So we played there one night, and a former first rounder for the Edmonton Oilers who played in Rochester for a lot of years, Scott Metcalf, which was a great guy. But we also had a bunch of guys, and my buddy Tony D, who passed away last year. I drive by Rochester every year now, and I literally start to cry because I think of my buddy Tony. But we were in Rochester, and we practiced at 10 o'clock in the morning. Every professional team practiced at 10, and we're off by 11, 11:30, and we work out, whatever, and we're done. So we're playing Rochester, and we're done by noon. The Sabres are playing. We're like, fuck, let's get a limo. Great idea, right? Let's go to fucking Buffalo on a Tuesday night. We'll go watch the Sabres play. Now we're prospects. Then we're gonna go fucking, the bar is after. We're gonna go to, locker room.
It's a Thursday. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, that was a Thursday night at the locker room.
Sorry, it's 25 years.
Stuffed mushroom on a Monday.
Stuffed mushroom ice cream.
Mannequins on a Wednesday. Tunes and no names on a Sunday, which, by the way, ended up becoming Razor's Bar.
You don't know as much as I did. So we decided to take a limo to Buffalo, like 5 of us. So we're out in Buffalo during the game, and Brad's playing, and Rob's playing, and all the guys are playing, and it was sombrero night. So we were literally behind the net in the old dog, and sombreros were passed out right across the whole fucking stage.
Anxiously awaiting my hat trick, which never happened.
Did not happen. So we literally put on our sombreros and we're dancing in the stands, and the Jumbotron, what it was, but like lights were flashing on us. Now we're fucking prospects for the Buffalo Sabres, and we're fucking hammered in the stands watching the game. So literally we go to the bar after, we party till 4 in the morning, take the limo back, get back in, and we didn't have cell phones. We had fucking recorders. So for some reason, I got home at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had practiced at 10 in Rochester, and for some reason, I pressed my fucking recorder, and I was like, hey, Matthew, John Butler here. We had an injury, and we expect you to practice at 10 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm banged up. I mean, I'm fucking banged up. So whenever I sleep for a couple hours, I get in my car, I drive back up, and Maisie's like right in front of me, and I love Maisie. We've had a lot of issues along the way, which we will get to. But literally he looks at me, he's like, you're fucking banged up, aren't you? I'm like, oh, you have no idea. He goes, hey, I'll go double. I'll go twice the amount of times. You just stand in line and fucking, I like, oh, thank you. I couldn't even fucking walk. I couldn't see. Whatever. Last time I ever played the minors, I never got sent back down. But he was like, hey, just stand in fucking line. Don't move. You're good. I'm like, oh, thank you, God.